This is just a disclaimer. You should take this video with a grain of salt. This is just something interesting I found which shows how soulless Roblox currently is, but about 33% of it is like an actual theory that I have. The people mentioned in this video are innocent until proven guilty in a court of law, so with that being said, let's begin. Alright, welcome back to the channel. So by now I'm sure you're all aware of Roblox's many problems, specifically dealing with moderation. Notably, Roblox continuously failing to protect its majority child player base from predators, as well as inviting a condo maker to RDC and letting them work on the Hatch event. Now this kind of incompetence got me questioning if Roblox was facilitating child endangerment on their site, but for years I just assumed that Roblox was grossly negligent. That was until I discovered a link to something that I was not expecting. So how did I find this? Let me explain. This is probably gonna seem entirely unrelated, but meet Henry Kissinger, someone who as Secretary of State aided in numerous war crimes to people living in Bangladesh and Cambodia, as well as backing the dictatorship of Augusto Pinochet, in addition to providing weapons to the Suharto regime while invading East Timor and apartheid South Africa. If you know who Henry Kissinger is, it's most likely for these reasons. You may not know that in 1975, the US Department of State burned a client list of about 100,000 names that were clients of a quote-unquote person named John D. Norman, who ran a nationwide child and CP ring implicating government officials, influential public figures, and celebrities. If this sounds at all familiar to you, those two cases are in fact connected. By who, you might ask? Well, Kissinger. He was Secretary of State when the client list was burned, and in addition to that, he was also in the black book of Jeffrey Epstein. This rabbit hole is way too big for me to cover here, but this got me looking into some of Kissinger's connections. This led me to the Paley Media Council, which Kissinger was very involved with for some reason. And who else was a trustee of the council? Well, David Baszucki, the CEO of Roblox, in addition to multiple different people connected with some very shady and disturbing stuff. So, the Paley Media Council describes itself as a quote-unquote membership community comprised of the world's most important entertainment, media, and technology executives, and has been frequently called the Davos of media, Davos meaning the World Economic Forum, which was actually founded by a Henry Kissinger protege. But anyways, the council also has very odd members, which have zero connection to media companies. For example, James Baker, who served as Secretary of State under George Bush Sr., or Robert M. Gates, who was the CIA Director under George Bush Sr. and Defense Secretary from 2006 to 2011, or Tony Blair, who was also in Epstein's Black Book and a British Prime Minister. It's also worth noting that an Epstein accuser said that she was forced to have sex with a former Prime Minister, and that Blair was also friends with Jimmy Savile, if you know what that entailed. Michael Bloomberg is also in the Black Book, but he actually owns a media company, making his placement in the media center a little less concerning. But in 2020, his campaign leaders were suspended from Twitter for astroturfing, you know, kind of botting Twitter to promote a certain viewpoint. Robert Mueller was also a member of the council, as well as being director of the FBI, along with Christopher Wray. Rupert Murdoch is another heavily Epstein-connected media mogul who is a member of the council. And last but not least, in 2023, it was announced that P. Diddy would be a trustee of the council. Yes, you heard that right. So at this point, anyone can understand why it's so weird that so many people connected to three-letter government agencies known for illegal acts, and also Jeffrey Epstein, are connected to this seemingly innocuous media council. So here's my theory for why this is. I think this is really quite simple. The Paley Media Council is a group of powerful governmental and media figures working together to sway public opinion. We know that this has happened before with Operation Mockingbird, in which it was revealed that the CIA was secretly working with large media companies to implant propaganda into the minds of the people. Notably, CBS was involved in said operation, and the CEO at the time just so happened to be William S. Paley, the same guy who founded the Paley Media Council. It's in the name. So how this ties back to Roblox is that it's likely that Roblox is actively turning a blind eye to these issues, along with other gaming companies, to expose many of the kids that play these games to sexual content as a way of influencing and shaping their minds. They're basically introducing this type of content to kids as a way of getting them to think or act a certain way, sort of like mass EPI. It's deeply disturbing to think about this being possible, but I encourage you to look into this to shed more light and see if it's actually backed up by evidence. But even if it isn't, and I've simply lost my mind, it definitely shines light on how little Roblox actually cares about its player base. They, much like the rest of the Paley Media Council, only see the population as a bunch of walking dollar signs for them to exploit as much as possible, so don't forget it. But anyways, that's about it for this video. I'm currently planning a much bigger video going over many more of Roblox's problems. Be sure to suggest new video ideas in the comments section. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you hope to see more. And in Vsauce's words, as always, thanks for watching.